Greetings all, this is Justinian the Great. I hope that this video finds you well, and if it doesn't, then I hope that you're well by the end of the video. Great news! Sony has changed their minds and have decided not to close the PS Vita and PS3 stores. Speaking of the Vita, have you ever liked something that no one else did? We all have. Whether it be a movie, a TV show, a song, or even a video game, when we don't walk around with our heads shoved up our rear ends, we often tend to have our own tastes and opinions, which sometimes leads to us liking things that no one else does. Today, I'm going to be looking at 5 critically panned games on the PS Vita that I just so happen to enjoy. Number 5. Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 is often considered to be one of the greatest games of all time. From the amazing cel-shaded art style and open world to the fun shoot-and-loot gameplay, Borderlands 2 is an amazing game. It has a great cast of characters and a hilarious sense of humor as well, which kind of helps. So, you might be asking yourself, why is this game on the list? Well, to put it plainly, the port on the PlayStation Vita is far from perfect. The frame rate is very often inconsistent, there are minor but noticeable graphical glitches, and it occasionally crashes. So why do I like it? Well, despite its issues, it's still a very good game, and an imperfect port doesn't hide that. Also, I found that if you change the online settings to offline mode while in the main menu, that the frame rate does significantly improve. It's still not perfect, and you do have to sacrifice the online multiplayer, but it's still definitely worth playing. Number 4. Resident Evil Revelations 2. Resident Evil Revelations 2 may not be a fan favorite entry in the series, but it's definitely one of my favorites. The story and characters are memorable, the gameplay is fun, and above all, the game perfectly balances the action and horror in a way that is comparable to Resident Evil 4. Sadly, the Vita port of this game suffered from some of the same issues as the Borderlands 2 port. In this case, the frame rate particularly was even worse. And on top of a frame rate that averages somewhere between 15 to 20 frames per second, the graphics are heavily downgraded. Sadly, in this case, there isn't a saving grace like just changing a setting to improve the frame rate. However, I did find a trick to it. Whenever you walk into each new area, walk around in a circle for a bit before engaging enemies, and you'll notice the frame rate stabilize. Usually, once it stabilizes, it will stay consistent even after engaging multiple enemies and even bosses. In my opinion, it's still a playable, portable version of one of my favorite games, which is why I still like it. Number 3. Phineas and Ferb, Day of Doofenshmirtz. This is a game that perfectly fits the description of a hidden gem. No one ever talks about or even acknowledges it, yet it's still a good game. For those that don't know, Phineas and Ferb was an animated series on the Disney Channel that ran from the late 2000s to the early 2010s and was about 2 stepbrothers who just so happened to be genius inventors. On top of this, their pet platypus, Perry, was a secret agent. Fun stuff. Anyway, this is a 3D platforming adventure game where you play as Phineas, Ferb, and Perry as they're trying to save the tri-state area from a machine created by Perry's rival Dr. Doofenshmirtz, which turns ordinary appliances like washing machines into evil robots. The diverse yet mostly consistent gameplay styles in the campaign, coupled with great boss fights, secrets that require replaying the majority of the campaign to acquire, and a decent amount of side content, go together to create one of the most underrated 3D platforming experiences that I've personally encountered. Given the overall quality of this release, and that this Vita exclusive game was released after the series had ended, I almost want to think that Disney or someone else involved wanted to revive the series as a video game franchise. Number 2. Resistance Burning Skies. Resistance Burning Skies was the first proper first-person shooter to ever be released on a handheld device. Previous FPS games suffered from the lack of a second analog stick, which the Vita had. This was actually the first modern FPS game that I ever really enjoyed, and I still enjoy it to this day even after playing many other FPS games that others consider to be superior. For what it is, it's a great FPS game with fun gameplay, a good variety of weapons, a halfway decent story, and a fantastic setting with 1950s America being taken over by hostile aliens. It's a good standalone Resistance game, and you don't really need any prior knowledge of the Resistance series in order to understand what's going on. People often complain about the story in this game being weak, but to me the story is strong enough for what it is, as I kind of prefer handheld games to be more gameplay oriented than story oriented anyway. Number 1. Silent Hill Book of Memories. The phrases Silent Hill and Dungeon Crawler don't exactly sound like they would go together, but somehow, some way, a Silent Hill dungeon crawler actually works pretty well. In this game, you traverse otherworld-like environments, fighting classic Silent Hill enemies with classic Silent Hill weapons, using a user-created character. Story-wise, this game more or less tells a decent moral tale of why one shouldn't mess around with things that they do not understand, as your character receives a book containing their memories and instructions on how to change their past, present, and future. I personally love this game, and it's definitely one of my favorite games. However, the critics, and a lot of other people for that matter, don't seem to agree. In my opinion, it's still a great game, and it's definitely worth playing. Well, there goes my credibility as a game reviewer. That was my list of the top 5 Vita games that I liked, but not a lot of other people did. Please note that while I do enjoy numbers 4 and 5, I would never use them as a selling point for the Vita, as I think they hurt the system more than they helped it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like it and subscribe to my channel. And if you like the music that you hear in the background, please check the link in the description for my music channel. Have a good one and stay safe. This is Justinian the Great, signing off.